welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Power Players Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Carter Jr., aka M. Dot, which is my nickname. I got a special Power Player guest on here, and I'm so glad to have my man. I haven't spoken to him in a couple of years, and there's a big smile on my face as I'm introducing him and talking to him. So please welcome my special guest, Chucky Brown, former New Jersey Nets player, former NBA player. Chucky spent 13 seasons in the NBA. He's a retired professional basketball player, came from North Carolina State, selected by the Cleveland Cavaliers in the second round of the 1989 NBA draft, a career spanning 13 seasons in the NBA, of which he earned an NBA ring with the world champion Houston Rockets in the 94-95 season. Please welcome my man, my uncle, my brother, Chucky Brown. What up, Chuck?
What's up, Mike? What's going on, man? Thank you again for having me. Like you said, we hadn't talked in a while, but you know, once the camera turned on, it was like I just saw you last week.
That's what it feels like, man. It feels like
right.
I just saw you yesterday, like at practice. Like
I
don't feel like anything's changed, man. And me connecting with you on social media, it felt good, man. And I said, man, I gotta get my man Chuck on here. There's so many stories, but what's interesting, I didn't know you were from New York. You were born in New York, in Harlem, and you actually were playing football, not basketball.
Right.
And you went to Joe Namath camp. How did you go from football to basketball?
Well, it was kind of an easy switch for me. I was at Joe Namath camp, and I broke my fingers. So once I broke my fingers, I said, "This ain't for me." Now, you know what I'm saying? I was young too, so I was actually not a bad football player. I could have got better, of course, but once I broke my fingers, I was like, man, I'm gonna find something else to play. You know what I'm saying? Because I can't be out here getting all broke up. And the rules back then were different than they are now. You know what I'm saying? Like now, they kind of like they watch for concussions and all that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? They're much more protective of the kids now than they were years ago. So I was just like, nah, this ain't for me. Football players, you got to be part crazy to play that game. So then that's when I started playing basketball, and then I grew a little bit, and then the rest is history. So
now, how did the Hall of Fame and legendary coach Jim Valvano find you? I mean, that's a legendary coach. How did he find you? How did it happen, man?
That is a great story, and out of all the interviews that I've done, nobody has ever asked that question. So you asked the best question. So my father is from North Carolina. And when my grandmother got sick, he decided, I was in the 10th grade. So he was like, we got to move. We got to go down here. I got to take care of my mother. So, we was like, all right, bet. So, of course we was like, all right, bet. What we going to do? So we moved to North Carolina. So I came down here. I was probably about, like I said, I grew. So I probably was about 6'5", maybe. And went to this high school, North Brunswick High School, and had a coach there by the name of Cliff Gibson, who worked NC State's basketball camps. So he decided, we're gonna go to team camp up there. So we go to team camp up at NC State, and Tom Marco was an assistant coach there, and he saw me playing, and so he ended up talking to my high school coach about, trying to get me back up there. So then they had another individual camp, and he brought me back up to the individual camp to see how I would do. So, I came and, I did well. And then next thing you know, they were like, well, if you ever want to come to any basketball games, let us know. So I was like, okay, cool. So I grabbed a couple of my high school teammates, and we would come up to NC State basketball games. And then, over the summer, the next summer, which was going into my senior year, they really started recruiting me heavy. Wow. And, I went in the office to meet Valvano. And like I'm fresh out of New York City, down to North Carolina, and it's like I gravitated to anything New York. You know what I'm saying? Valvano was from Queens, right? So that was an instant connection right there. His birthday, I think, was in March. Mine is in February. So I think he was a Pisces. So I'm an astrological guy too. So that's a fit there. So when I came up on my official visit, they put me with Lorenzo Charles, who was from Brooklyn. So everything was New York for me. So I was comfortable, and then they gave me Spud Webb was my other host. And, but Lorenzo was the first host, from Brooklyn. So, we vibe and, we talk about city stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I felt very comfortable. Ernie Myers was also from Spanish Harlem. So he was here. He's from Spanish Harlem. So Tavian Benz was here from the Bronx. So I was gravitating. I didn't want to hear nothing from nobody else. I'm in New York City. I'm good. I'm around a bunch of New Yorkers. The coaching staff, Roberto Marco was from Queens. Ray Martin was from New York. So it was everything New York for me. So I just got down here. So that's what I gravitated to. And, Spud took me out. And, everybody knew about Spud Webb.
Yeah.
So Spud took me out. We had a great time. And, I mean, basically, Spud probably sealed the deal. But the whole New York vibe, that's how I got connected to NC State. Like, Dean Smith was over at Carolina. They were recruiting me. Coach K was at Duke. They were recruiting me.
Damn.
But it was the North Carolina, like the New York, North Carolina vibe for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, these cats from the city. That's, that was it. Because, you come down and back then, it was a lot of North Carolinians. So it was like kind of country. You know what I'm saying? So, you're a city kid. Like, I come down here and see a snake, I'm running. You know what I'm saying? But if I see a subway rat, I ain't running from no subway. Let the rat go about his business. But I see a snake, I'm running. I'm scared of snakes. You know what I mean? So, the country kids though that I was hanging with, they'd be like, "Yo, let's go get it." Like, what? Go get it? Like, leave that snake alone, yo. So I'm going the other way while they going to it. So it was just a whole, like I said, the New York City vibe. And that's what I gravitated to. And that's how I got to NC State. I didn't even know anything about NC State. My favorite player was James Worthy, who was over at North Carolina at the time. And that's why I wore 52 was because of James Worthy. So it was, see, people don't even know that. I wear 52 because of James Worthy.
I was wondering where that number came from. It's an odd number.
James Worthy.
Well, it's
James Worthy. James Worthy. And I'm going to tell you how I walk. My father and I, we're watching the national championship, Carolina, Georgetown, back in '82. I was a freshman at Cardinal Hayes at the time. So I'm going for Carolina because Jimmy Black was the starting point guard on Carolina. Jimmy Black went to Cardinal Hayes. So I'm cheering for Jimmy. So I'm watching Carolina. So Worthy was the best player on the floor that night. Yeah. So I'm watching the game, and I was like, damn, I like that dude. So that's who I patterned my game after. And that, like, we went over to Europe to play, and myself, Glenn Rice, B.J. Armstrong, Eric Brown, Richard Morgan. So they started calling me Little Worthy. So, I mean, it just stuck. So, yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Now I see the game. Yeah, now I see how your game imitates James Worthy.
Yes. So that was my guy. That was my guy. Still is my guy. You know what I'm saying? And it was funny because when I went to the Lakers to play for the Lakers, I'm playing behind Worthy. So I can't tell him. I got to practice against him every day. So I'm watching everything he do in practice. I'm watching everything. So the nickname that he got, now I kept hearing Byron Scott call him, "Good move, Clever. Clever, good move, Clever, Clever." Kept calling him Clever. I'm like, yo, why you keep calling him Clever? He said, just watch him in the post. He got clever moves. So we call him Clever. So, yeah. So I was like, oh, okay. So like I said, I ended up telling James probably, we were at a golf tournament maybe 10 years ago. Phil Ford used to have a golf tournament down here. Yeah. And James and I were at the tournament. So the night before the tournament, you know, we're in the room playing cards, and you know, some of them smoke. I don't smoke no cigars, but they smoking cigars. So I'm in the room dying of the smoke anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm, you know, just hanging around the guys. So, and I just told him then, I was like, hey man, you know, you was my favorite player. You was who I patterned my game at. I finally told him after all these years. And
after
he just
all these years,
about it. I couldn't tell him. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, I was just, it was just like, you know, you kind of shy. And then, you know, I got to the point where, like, you know what, I'm a man up and just tell him. You know, I'm just going to tell him. You know what I'm saying? So, and I told him, and I think he really appreciated, you know, I mean, you know, those guys, like, he's a Hall of Fame guy, you know, and I just told him. And it was, you know, it was like a relief for me because I had been holding it in, even though it wasn't nothing to be, you know, stressed about or nothing like that. You know what I mean? But I just felt good about telling him, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you know, and the rest is history, man. I mean, he's one of my guys today.
Wow, that's an amazing story. How everything kind of lined up for you once you moved to North Carolina.
Yep.
You met the right people, brought you into Jimmy V. There was the New York Cats surrounding you. It's
crazy.
That's a crazy story.
It's crazy. And you know, before that, my freshman year, you know, I got cut at Cardinal Hayes. Coach Murray cut me from the team. And he said, you know, you should have made it, but you're gonna come out next year. Are you gonna come out next year? And at the time, I had a growth spurt between my 9th grade and 10th grade year, but I was a little short. I probably was about 5'11" at the time when he cut me. And I just told him, I said, Coach, I'm moving, so you know, I'm not gonna be able to come out next year.
Wow.
So then I ended up moving. Yeah, I moved. So I would have been at Hayes, and I probably would have played, but I moved to North Carolina in my 10th grade year, and you know, the rest is history, man.
That just goes to show you when you follow things and they line up and you stay patient, everything happens for a reason. So you got cut.
Everything. I got cut my freshman year.
Freshman year, 10th grade, you moved to North Carolina.
Yep.
And then you wound up making a team there.
Yep. And then I made the team. I made the varsity as a sophomore. Yep.
Wow. And then that's how you go on to NC State, the college.
Yep.
You meet Jim Valvano. What did Jim Valvano, what did he instill in you while playing for him at college? Because, I mean, his words of wisdom, you know, things that they share with today still resonate. Like, but you were with him, you know, personally. All 4 years. What did he share with you, like, in the locker room or on the court that you took with you to the NBA and in life?
I think what he shared with me, especially, you know, my father used to say, and see, it helped echo what my father was saying. He was saying the same thing. So, you know, sometimes as a kid, your parents say stuff to you, and you're like, yeah, all right, whatever. Then when you hear it somewhere else, it's like, oh, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's all of us have done that. You know what I mean? My kids do it to me to this day. So, but what he instilled in me was, first of all, like the slogan that he always says, never give up. You know what I'm saying? He instilled that in me. He instilled, you know, you're not as tired as you think. You got more gas in the tank than you think. You know what I'm saying? And the big thing was, you know, there comes a day when the cheering stops. So you need to be respectful of people, because the same people you see on your journey up, if you're on your journey, if you're on a downward journey, and you may need a helping hand. But if you were disrespectful, or you weren't kind to people on your way up, those same people see you on your way down. And if you were kind, somebody may stick a hand out so you could grab it, and you won't fall all the way. You know what I'm saying? But if you were nasty to people, they'll see you fall and they'll be like, oh, okay, let them drop. You know what I'm saying? So he instilled that, and those are some of the same lessons that my father was telling me. But it's just like I said, it's just like, all right, Dad, all right. But then when you hear somewhere else, it's like, damn, you know, he does know what he's talking about. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, like I said, we all have done it. But, you know, Valvano has always, like, echoed the things that my father was telling me. So, you know, he just like, you know, backed everything up. And, it you know, like my father would say to me, like, yo, you listen to what that man tell you. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'll tell you a funny story. So one time we were in practice. So I did. So I was in practice cutting up stupid freshman stuff. So V cussed me out. He cussed me out. So I was like, so I went back to the room. So I called my father. I'm like, yo, this was before cell phones, pages, all that. So that's how old I am. But so I called my father, and I'm like, yo, man, this man is crazy. He cussing me out. Whoopie whoopie whoop. So my father was like, well, did he put his hands on you? And I said, no, he didn't touch me. Then I heard the dial tone. So I was like, dang. I was like, so we must have got disconnected. I'm thinking, oh, we got disconnected. So I called right back. I said, yo, we got disconnected. But yeah, man, so he was like, look, hey. He's like, oh, listen. If that man ain't put his hands on you, don't call me with that BS. You better do what that man tell you to do. Boom. I was like, so, hey, I had to, you know what I'm saying? So he had, as long as he wasn't like putting his hands on me and stuff like that, my father was fine. He said, yo, and he told me, he said, listen, he said, that man's job depends on what a 17, 18, 19-year-old kid is doing. He got to do what he got to do. So you better do what that man tell you to do. Don't call me with this mess no more. Bow. And I was like, okay, I didn't call home no more. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll never forget that one.
So that kind of like changed your whole mindset of like how to handle the situation with Coach V.
Changed my whole mindset, and it taught me not to take anything personal. You know what I'm saying? And it also taught me that if he's going to say something, and that's what my father told me too. He said, if that man is on you about something, he sees something in you. He sees something in you. So you need to listen. He sees something in you. I'm not there, but he sees something in you. And then that further went on to my rookie year as a pro playing for Lenny Wilkins. You know, Lenny Wilkins was on me every day at practice. So one day, jokingly, I say to Lenny while I'm stretching, I'm like, Coach, why you always riding me, man? You always on me. And Lenny looked and he said, quote unquote, he said, you need to worry if I'm not talking to you. He said, when I'm talking to you, I see something in you. And I was like, all right, bet, Coach. Stay on me, Coach.
Wow.
and yo, I never said another word. The rest of my 12 years in the league, I didn't say nothing to no other coach. If they was on me, I was loving it. So it taught me, like I said, you don't take anything personal. Don't take anything personal. So that's how I handle it, and that's how I try to teach my kids that I coach today. Like, look, if I say something to you, and I tell them my Lenny Wilkins story, I tell them my Jim Valvano, so I tell them that stuff to let them know, like, look, I already went through what you're going through. So I know what I'm talking about here. So just listen. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, that's some good stuff right there, man.
I mean,
it teaches a lot.
You played for a legendary coach in college, Jimmy V. Then you got selected by the Cavaliers, and you played for another legendary coach, Lenny Wilkins, and you playing on the Cleveland Cavaliers now. 92, I think y'all were playing in the playoffs. I think the Nets played y'all in the playoffs the first round, if I'm correct. In the 90.
The Cleveland. Yeah, I was in New Jersey, and we played Cleveland in the first round. Yeah,
that was right. So what was that like? And did you have any teammates in Cleveland that kind of like guided you, like you can go to for like guidance? And was there any teammates in Cleveland that helped you out? And then when you came to Jersey, were there any teammates that kind of like looked out for you?
Yeah, Larry Nance, man. Larry Nance was my guy when I was a rookie. You know, like they harassed me a little bit as a rookie. Like they called me Rook all the time. And like I had to bring their practice gear. I had to bring them donuts in the morning. But in return, they looked out for me. And basically, I'll say it like this. They, like these young dudes, like they like what the old dudes used to say, they shared game with me about how to survive in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that each one teach one. So I was the one that they were teaching. Like Larry would tell me, all right, Rook, listen, this is what we're going to do. You're gonna go get me some donuts. You're going to be here. Practice start at 11. You're going to bring them donuts here. We're going to eat some donuts. We're going to work out. We're going to get our weights in before practice. We're going to get in the gym early, get some shots up before practice. Then after practice, we're going to get some shots up again after practice. All right? So I'll be like, all right, cool. So that was Larry, teaching me game, how to stay in the league. Because he was probably about a 8 or 9 year vet at the time when I came in the league. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to know what it took to stay that long. So then, Larry would do that, but in return, he would look out for me. You know what I'm saying? Anything I needed, I'd go over his house to eat, because I was single at the time, living by myself. I didn't know the city. I knew a girl I went to college with, Jackie, and her brother Scott. I knew them, but they had their family. You know what I'm saying? So Larry, I would be over Larry's house, eat, and he would just like I said, he would share game with me. And then when I came to New Jersey, that I took that with me. Then I learned a little bit more as I'm in my 4th year. Rick Mahorn. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, Larry was a guy that when he talked to me, he wasn't like, he's a nice guy. So he would be like, he would tell me things and like basically scold you, but in a nice way. When you get scolded and you be like, oh, okay, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, he basically tell you, yo, you ain't doing nothing. He would say it in a way that it was acceptable, and it wasn't I could take it harsh, but he wasn't harsh with it, but I knew what he was saying. Now on the other hand, when I came to Jersey with Rick Mahorn, he was cussing you out. You know what I'm saying? But because of the relationship we had, I didn't take it personal. You know what I'm saying? So he could cuss you out. There you go. You big. You know what I'm saying? You know Rick. You know how Rick was.
That's Rick, why I'm laughing, because that's Rick.
That's Rick. So then I would take it and laugh about it, but I knew that Rick cared about me. You know what I'm saying? I knew Larry cared about me. So those relationships, they could say anything they wanted to me, and I wouldn't take it personal. You know what I'm saying? So those are the two main guys as far as player-wise, that probably the reason why I lasted 13 seasons, because when I got up to Sacramento or even when I was at Golden State, like what I would do, I would get to the gym early and I would tell the younger guys, yo, or the guys that weren't playing a lot, who were most of the younger guys, I'd be, yo, y'all ain't playing a lot. Yo, let's come in early. Let's get our work in, get our cardio in, just in case, we get in the game, we be ready. You know what I'm saying? So I started doing that later in my career, and that came from, Larry Nance. That came from Rick Mahorn. That came from Maurice Cheeks. All those older dudes that were older than me. I took those lessons and tried to share them with other guys.
Now, and then when you was in New Jersey, you also played for Chuck Daly.
Right.
So how did you had 3? You go from one legendary coach to another legendary coach.
Yes.
Well, and in New Jersey, I had a lot of fun working for y'all, even though I was a troublemaker as a ball boy.
Hey, even though you was a trash talker.
I used to talk a lot of trash to you players. I don't know what. It's crazy because I don't know. I guess that was my personality. Like I used to get along with everybody, but I was for some reason I wasn't afraid to come up to y'all and talk to y'all and pop trash, even though I was a 14, 15-year-old kid and I was only like 5'7". But I would look up to y'all and talk trash, but at the same time, y'all used to keep me in check. Y'all used to keep me in check. And what I took from you guys is I always used to watch you guys perform during the pregame warm-ups. And you were one of the guys that just your work ethic was incredible. But how did you keep that you had that mentality of like your work ethic it was top notch. You would come in and the little things, second chance rebounds, boxing out, you would do stuff that, it would make a difference on the court.
Right.
How did your mentality get to that level of just the hard work ethic and I'm gonna go all out and help this team? Because everybody says you one of them guys that they want you on their team because you got their back.
Right.
Where does that come from?
I think it came from just watching my dad. Like I said, he drove a bus, drove the city bus, drove the 1 to 7 the 102. Every now and then he drove the BX30, they called it, the Bronx 30, which would cross over the 145th Street Bridge. You know, just riding the bus with him. My mother was a telephone operator. So just seeing how hard they had to work. You know, I can remember nights sitting up. I remember when they were saving up for our first car. I remember them counting the money. I remember that as a kid, you know what I'm saying? So just seeing how hard they worked. And my father used to always tell me, you know, don't let nobody outwork you. There are going to be people that's better than you. There's going to be people that's better than you, period. But don't ever let anyone outwork you. And I think, you know, that stuck with me. And just being, you know, in New York, you know, when you're in the inner city, especially like back then, it was totally different. Yeah. You know, like now, I heard Harlem has changed a lot. You got more white people in Harlem.
You wouldn't recognize Harlem.
Listen, my partner said, who's been in Harlem all his life, coming home from work one night, 3 a.m, and there was a white lady out there walking her dog. And he looked, and he said she looked at him like he didn't belong there. And he was just kind of bugging because, you know, 20 years ago, Harlem, she might have got hit in the head, and you know, the dog might have got taken.
That's true. That's true.
So, you know, yeah, I think the work ethic came from just growing up in the inner city, seeing my parents, how hard they had to work, and you know, just, you know, like my father always, and the one thing my father always talked about is, you know, appreciating time, not wasting time. Don't waste your time. Do not waste your time. So I think that's where all that came from.
Was there anybody, because in the 90s, I always say that was one of the best era of basketballs.
Right.
Was there anybody that you liked to play against, but you disliked playing them?
Yeah, without a doubt, it was Dennis Rodman, man, because of his work ethic. You know, because of his work ethic. You know, when I first got called up in Houston, and they called me up on a 10-day, and we get ready to play the Spurs. So Dennis Rodman is the leading rebounder, period, but leading offensive rebounder in the league. So they come to me before the game and was like, we don't want him to get no rebounds tonight. So in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what, him? I'm like, this dude? But you know, I'm showing him like, all right, man, I got it. But in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna be tough. You know, but I'm like, all right, bet. So we get in the game. You know, he gets one offensive rebound, and you know, they tell me what a great job I did. But I was so worn out after that game. Like, I did not go eat. I went home. I went straight to bed. Forgot to eat. I forgot to eat. I was so tired. But also, what that game taught me, so I was probably about 215, 220. You know what I'm saying? It also taught me that I needed to get a little bigger and stronger. So that entire summer, I worked and I came back. I probably weighed about 240, 245, and I was more equipped for that type of game. You know what I'm saying? So that next year, playing for the Rockets, it was the 96 year. I was the only guy to start every game. You know what I'm saying? And I owe that all to my weightlifting, because weightlifting is just injury prevention and injury recovery. You know what I'm saying? So if I did have any nagging injuries, they didn't nag for long because my body was strong. I was built for it. And I remember games, you know, playing against guys where they complimented how strong I was, and that made me feel good. But Dennis Rodman was the one guy that, you know, you had to work every play. He never took a play off. Like, I guarded Karl Malone, I guarded Charles Barkley, I guarded, you know, Kevin Garnett. I guarded all those guys. But the difference between those guys and Rodman is they took a play off to rest. So when they took a play off to rest, guess who else could rest? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So Rodman didn't allow you to rest. And if you didn't have the same type of conditioning or better, he was going to get the better of you. And that's how he got the better of people. He was in more shape. He was in better shape than anyone and outworked people.
So, the conditioning. The conditioning is how he outworked.
Big. It's huge. It's huge.
Did you have any like pregame meals?
Yes, my pregame meal, like the night before a game, I used to try to eat pasta because, I tried to learn, a little bit of the nutritional value. These guys have, a better grip on it now.
Yeah.
But I try to eat pasta because the pasta turns into carbohydrates, which breaks down and is basically like gas, like you put gas in a car. Yeah. That's like gas for your body. That's like energy for your body. The night before, I would eat like some spaghetti or something like that. But like before the game, my pregame meal was either I'd have pancakes. I didn't eat any meat or nothing like that before game because meat was hard to digest and it slows you down. So I would try to eat pancakes, or I would eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And, we used to get that nice meal money. And what I would do when we got to a city, I never told anybody this, so I'm glad I'm telling you this. But when I got to a city, I would go to the grocery store and I love strawberry jelly. So I get strawberry jelly and I get an extra crunchy Jif peanut butter. And I get me a loaf of bread, get in my room, and I'd have my pregame peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I eat 2 or 3 of them joints, give me some milk with it. And that was good. And if we were in a cold city, I'd sit, and if we didn't have a fridge, because back in the day, every hotel didn't have a fridge in the room. So I would take the jelly, sit it on the ledge, and let it that was my refrigerator. So, you found a way to make it work. Oh yeah, you found a way to make it work. So yeah, that's what I would do. And like peanut butter jelly sandwich or pancakes was, I would eat it, and I would eat every day at 4 o'clock. At 4 o'clock, I had to eat at least 3.5, 4 hours before the game. So 4 o'clock, I would eat that. Then when we got to the stadium, sometimes they would have fruit in there for us, which was good. So yeah, so I'd eat the fruit. Then, if I got a little hungry, I'd throw the fruit in there. Say they have oranges, pineapple, whatever it was, melon. Yeah, so I would do that then, for pregame. But yeah, that was my little pregame routine, man.
Wow. And now, because you play with a lot of teams, how did that affect you mentally, and how did you stay strong mentally, like going to each city? Because I remember one time you told me, and we're gonna get to the story. I remember one time you told me that when you go into new cities, you're there by yourself. You got to find things to do. It's hard to meet people. You're by yourself. So how did you stay, I guess, mentally strong with traveling to different cities and playing with different teams?
I think it wasn't that hard to stay mentally strong when I went to another team, because when you go to those different teams, they try to make it easy for you. They help you out a little bit with places to stay and stuff like that normally. It probably was like the first time when I got released from Cleveland and I got picked up for the Lakers. That probably was a little tough in the beginning because I didn't know anybody on the Lakers. I knew nobody. So when I got there, that was a little rough because I didn't have any family out in LA or nothing like that. So I was just kind of solo by myself. But what ended up happening is, like, you get with good, you get good veteran players. Like Byron Scott was a great vet. Rory Sparrow was there. I'm trying to think, like I said, Worthy was there. AC Green, and Sedale 3. Those guys kind of welcomed me with open arms, and that made it a little easier. But I didn't really get into a relation. It took a little bit for the relationship to get further before I was able to hang out with them. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like welcoming you like right away. You know what I'm saying? So that takes a little time to get the relationship going. You know what I'm saying? And but they were good to me, and that made it a little easier for me. But being by yourself, I found stuff to do, go to movies, and it was lucky that I was in LA. There was plenty to do in LA. So I just got out and just kind of found my way around. I was young and single at the time, so you got out there and did your thing. You know what I'm saying? So that made it a little easier too.
Do you have any like fondest memories in LA? Like, I mean, Worthy, AC Green, Byron Scott.
I think some of the fondest memories that I had. I was a big Kareem Abdul-Jabbar fan. I still am. And whenever Kareem would come in and practice with us, it was like, because he was a little older, but he was still in great shape. and he would come in and sometimes practice against Vlade. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean that type of stuff. And then like, you know, seeing Magic come around, because as a kid, I remember we used to be on the playgrounds arguing about Magic when he was at Michigan State. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So to be around those type of guys, and you see like, you know, you look up and you see the jerseys, and you go to a game and you see Wilt Chamberlain sitting in the stands. You see Elgin Baylor. You see Jerry West. Jerry West was the GM. Yeah. So, you know, you see these iconic figures. You know what I'm saying? So I think that right there, you know, was big and like really like memorable for me. And like when I went back out to LA to work, I tell my kids this story too. So I'm in the bathroom where I just been doing my business, whatever. So I'm washing my hands at the sink. So this guy walks up beside me and he's washing his hands. So I just happened to look over and it was Bruce Willis. And I was like, "What's up, Bruce Willis?" I was like a kid. And he kind of looked and started laughing. And I was like, I said, "What's up, Bruce Willis?" And he was like, hey, how you doing, man? So I just washed my hands and just, you know, said what's up. We talked a little bit. And I was like, damn, that Bruce Willis just walked up beside me. You know what I'm saying? Damn. So I think those like stuff like that, like, you know, I'd be out sometimes in a store. And like, what's that? Kadeem Hardison. I was it was a store called The Boys Market. Or it was like, not The Boys, it was like a Circus City type of spot. So I was in The Boys looking for a Walkman. And Kadeem Hardison is in there with me. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I go to Roscoe's. I mean, it's crazy. I'll go to Roscoe's. I sit in Roscoe's. And I don't know if you ever seen the movie Cooley High.
Yeah,
but
of course.
The dude, Coach Cheese was in there. Coach Cheese was in there. So I don't want to interrupt his meal, but I'm like, yo, Coach Cheese, what's up? I don't know his real
cried
name,
when Coach Cheese died, man.
Yes,
I cried when he
so
died.
I'm in there talking to Coach Cheese. I mean, it was, you know, those type of memories stick out for me.
Yeah.
With my time in LA. I mean, it was a great time. You know, I was out there at that time too. You know, that's when the riots went down. So, you know, I remember all of that when, you know, how they had to shut the city down. And I remember smoke all over the city. You know, they had to shut the planes down. They moved our playoff game from LA. We had to go to Vegas to play it because, you know, they had tore the city up. Yeah. So, I mean, all those memories stick out because I remember when we were on the road, we were in Portland when Rodney King had got beaten. We were in Portland playing a game. So, and we saw that. And we was like, oh, man. So then we get back to L.A. And, you know, a sad part about it is, you know, the Natasha Harlins girl had got killed right before that. And I was right in L.A. and did not even know about that until probably a month or so after. And I'm right there in LA. So, you know, my point being, like, you know, now we got the social media thing where years ago, they kind of kept the media away from us. Like, you know, we didn't see anything that wasn't on TV because we were always told not to read the papers. You know what I'm saying? Because the papers, you know, if they say something bad about you, wow, you know, you're going to react a certain way. So, yeah, we were always told not to read the papers. So now, you know, you get your news right now, you turn on Twitter, somebody do something, somebody putting it out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get real-time news now because of social media.
Yeah, that's true, because I remember in the 90s, we ain't had no cell phone, no social media.
Like, none of that.
You know, interactions and pictures, none of that. You know, you only just had memories of your stories.
Yep.
And you know, it was just like, I don't think, sometimes it's hard to explain, like, even when I tell my kids, like, what I used to do as a ball boy, being in that type of atmosphere and in that world, it's just, it's a feeling you can't explain.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what it's like for you as players. Like, you're playing on the court in front of thousands of audience, doing something that you love to do. Right. And that's just a remarkable feeling. How, like, what, you played for a lot of great coaches. When you came to the Nets, there was Bernard King, Maurice Cheeks, Derek, there was Kenny, Jason Williams.
Yep. I forgot about Jake, yeah.
I mean, that team was so much fun to be around. Yep. What did you enjoy? Like, what What was your favorite team to play for, and what team did you dislike playing for?
Probably like that New Jersey team. Like I forgot about Jason was there, because Jason got hurt. Jason broke his leg, so
that's right.
Jason missed. Yeah, he missed the whole year. See, Kenny broke his wrist.
Yeah.
And so when we played Cleveland, we were actually shorthanded.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So Ramil did a great job of running the point, doing what he had to do. But we had a great mix of young dudes and vets. So I was in my 4th year. Kenny was in his 2nd, I believe, or it might have been a rookie. Drazen was young. I think Drazen was a little young. Drazen might have been in his 3rd year.
Yeah.
DC was in like his 3rd year.
Yeah.
Myself, we had Tate George was young.
Yeah.
Because it was basically Tate and Ramil playing. But our old vets, Chris Morris was in his 5th year, because Chris Morris was a year older than me. We had Sam Bowie was an older vet.
Yeah.
Rick Mahorn. We had Chris Dudley was there. We had Bernard King, Mo Cheeks. So we had a good mix of young dudes and old dudes. So that was one of my favorite teams because, as young dudes, we didn't care who we went up against. We felt like we had a chance, because even like when we played Cleveland in that first round, we knew Cleveland was the favorite. But man, if you could have heard all of the stuff we was talking to them, especially after we won game 2. We won game 2 in Cleveland. We went back to Jersey 1-1. Oh, listen, on our way out, we was telling the fans, we ain't coming back. Y'all done. This was y'all last game here. You know what I'm saying? Then we went to New Jersey and won game 3.
Yeah.
So back then it was the best 3 out of 5. We was
rocking.
Up 2-1. We lost game 4. But then even though we lost game 4, since we had won game 2 on the road, game 5 we felt we was all right though. We was like, all right, look, it's gonna be hard, but we didn't care. We did not care because we knew we had a young DC who was a monster. We had a young Drazen Petrovic who was another monster.
Yep.
We had Chris Morris. We had myself. We had Ramil. We had Sam Perkins. Not Sam Perkins, but Sam Bowie. We had Rick Mahorn. We had Mo Cheek. We had some good pieces there to win. Now we knew after we won, Chicago was waiting. We knew that. We knew Chicago was waiting. But we were all right with that. Even then, we were all right with that because we had played them earlier, and Drazen had gave Jordan some work. So we, like I said, we were very, very confident. So that was one of my favorite teams. The team in Houston was another favorite team of mine, simply because everyone knew their role. Everyone, like my job was to get loose balls, rebound, play defense, and when I get an open shot, make it. That was it, make it. Because I got probably, 4 or 5 shots a game, and my mentality was I got to go 3 for 5. I got to go 3 for 5. If I get 5 shots, I got to go 3 for 5. If I get 4 shots, I got to go 2 for 4. I can't go 1 for 4. I can't go 0 for 4. I got to at least hit 2 of those shots. So I think everyone knew what they had to do. And then we had our studs, Dream, and we had Clyde. And we knew that if we kept the game close, kept them out of foul trouble, kept them from having, like, we didn't want Clyde to have to use his energy on the defensive end. So we had Mario, we had Sam, we had myself, you know what I'm saying? So, and Dream, we didn't want Dream to use his energy on the defensive end either. We wanted your offense. So, sometimes I would take a guy like Sean Kemp, you know what I'm saying, to keep Dream off him for most of the game. We had Charles Jones, who came off the bench, who would also help. We had Pete Chilcutt. So we wanted Dream's offense more, at least early in the game. Now, late, all right, big fella, go ahead and erase that stuff. It comes to the rack. You go ahead and get it. You know what I'm saying? But, like, we didn't want him using his defense or his energy on defense for the entire game. We'd rather have your offense. You know what I'm saying? So we had guys that knew their roles. And that, when you have a team like that, that's why we won. We were not the most talented team. If you go look at Orlando's roster from top to bottom, you probably would say they were better and they would win that series. But we knew our roles and we worked hard. You know what I'm saying? And probably my least favorite team, not because of the players at all, not because of the city, but it was just because of, Chris Ford and the negative. I mean, if that's who he was, that's fine. But I had an issue with the negative way that he handled us. I thought that was bad, and I think that made the experience. Although any NBA team is a great experience, don't get me wrong, great experience, but that made the experience not as great as it should have been.
Now, how important is that, like, to have a great coach, be a leader and positive? Because a lot of, nowadays, most of the coaches are former players, and they say that, those type of coaches, player coaches, they have a better camaraderie or chemistry with the players because they know how to relate to them. So how is it, how does a coach being negative affect his team and their play on the court?
Well, I think as a coach, you got to be positive no matter what happens. Even if something bad happens, you have to find a way to pull something positive out of that situation. And I think that when you're not positive, like sometimes you have players that beat themselves up, you know what I'm saying? And it's just going to compound things if you beat them up as well. You know what I'm saying? Like the generation before me, like my father's generation, probably more mentally tough than the generation that I came up in, because they went through a little bit more mentally, you know what I'm saying, with the racism and all that stuff. Like my father tell me a whole lot of stories and stuff like that. I mean, we still deal with racism, but I don't think we deal with it as bad. And I mean, it's still a little open. Don't get me wrong, it ain't great. Don't get me wrong, but I think it was a lot worse. How like our parents were treated. I think it was a lot worse. I mean, it's gotten that much better, but it's still bad. You know what I'm saying? It's still bad. But I think that their generation is probably more mentally tougher than my generation. But you get through things. You know what I'm saying? You get through things and you figure things out. You know what I'm saying? You figure things out, and I think that's that's what you got to do. You do it, and one thing my father always told me: you don't make excuses. You don't make excuses. You find a way to get it done, and that's it. That's what I've done.
So my last question is: you're a great basketball player, and when I used to see you on the court, I used to always pop junk because you always say, "Yo, come by the hotel, man. Come kick it. Let's go play games, something." Now, as a ball boy, I used to love to hang out with you guys. Like I always wanted to hang out with you guys off the court just to see like what it's like to what do NBA players do off the court. And I realized you invited me over to the hotel. Y'all was playing video games. So I remember I used to talk trash to you. You used to say to me, "Yo, you can't see me in the basketball game. You can't see me in the PlayStation game." I was like, "All right. I'm trying to paint a picture for everybody here." So I go to Chuck's hotel. I think this was after practice. I think it was.
After practice,
After practice or after the game. I go to this hotel. We're playing. This is the PlayStation. I think it was an NBA game. I think it was an NBA. NBA
Live.
PlayStation. NBA Live. It was like an early edition. Chuck was killing me for 4 quarters, killing me. I'm talking about like up by 20. It was to the point I was getting frustrated, and I was just getting very, very mad. And all of a sudden, 4th quarter, ties changed. I start pulling the ultimate comeback. Now, the funniest part was, as I'm coming back and slowly closing down the lead, I wound up catching up. And then you start yelling at me saying, "Nah, this can't be. Nah, this can't be. Nah." You start talking trash. Stop talking trash to me. I'm only like 15, 16 years old. I pull a comeback. And then you like, I think I hit a 3 to go up. I win, and it's like maybe 30 seconds left. And I said, "Please, God, don't let this man come back." That was my greatest victory, my greatest performance. But how did it feel to lose to a 15-year-old kid down by 20? He pulls the ultimate comeback in your hotel. And then you was cool enough to drop me off at home and come inside and meet my parents and my younger brother. I appreciate that, man. But how did it feel to lose the game by 20? Because I'm not playing you no more.
Right. Hey, first of all, yeah, I was pissed. Hey, I was hot. I was like, I'm looking, like, when we playing, and as you coming back, I'm looking at you like, he got to be doing something over there. Like, yo, he got to be doing something over there. I'm like, yo, now I can't do nothing, and he can do everything. So I'm hot, you know, because you hate losing as a competitor. You don't want to lose at nothing. But, you know, I had to give you props. You know, you figured out what I was doing, and then I couldn't figure out what you was doing. So I was like, you know what? If I could win, and I'm thinking to myself, if I could win this game, I'm not playing this little joker again. But I never figured it out. But yeah, I mean, yeah, of course I was hot. But yo, like I say, you don't take it personal. You don't take it personal. So, you know, meeting your family, you know, the fact that, you know, and I appreciated that your parents trusted me enough with you to let you come and spend time with me, because, you know, like, I don't just send my kids anywhere with anybody, and you don't do that. You know what I'm saying? So that I had that trust, I knew that I had to take care. I had to take care of you. You know what I'm saying?
You did.
So, and I wanted them to, once I came in, you know, they had seen me from afar or whatever, but once I came in, and you know, I wanted them to meet me and, you know, just see what, you know, see that. And you already saw what I was about. You was around me all the time. You know what I'm saying? You know, and like you was like our little brother. You know what I'm saying? And you know, like, we wouldn't let, you know, nothing happen to you. You know what I'm saying?
Y'all didn't, man. Y'all ain't
talk junk. You used to talk trash.
I used to talk so much trash.
We used to laugh. That little junk will be talking, don't he? So, you know, and we had a great time. And like I said, you know, our relationship, you know, like I said, we have not, we linked up back on social media. I'm telling you, when you first sent me like the friend request on the
I think it was
on the Twitter.
Yeah.
Twitter, right?
Yeah.
So you first sent it to me, and I was like, oh, I know the name. Then I went and looked at your thing. I was like, oh, that's Mike. so then we connected. But, you know, it's just, you know, life is all about relationships. You know, it's all about relationships. And, you know, I'm just glad that we were able to reconnect. And that's the great thing about social media. You know, social media has its bad parts, but the great thing about social media is that you can reconnect with older people that you had relationships with before, and you can talk to somebody every day where you don't have to pick up the phone. Where it used to be, you had to pick up the phone. Now you can just send somebody a text, you can send somebody a tweet, you can send somebody a Facebook Messenger, you can send somebody an Instagram message. You got all kinds of ways of staying in contact with people. So that's the great thing about social media.
Yeah, man. And I appreciate you. I appreciate you cats, you know, you players from the Nets, man, because y'all took me under y'all wing and treated me like a little brother. And I thank y'all for that, man. It goes a long way. My last question is, you were always a positive dude. You always smiled, even like right now, like you were just always upbeat, always smiling, always positive.
Right.
How does somebody keep that type of attitude and influence, you know, whether it be there in basketball and sports or in life, man? How do I stay positive?
I think that no matter what the situation is, you got to find something positive out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, when I broke my foot, you know, that was a bad thing, you know, as far as my career goes. But I looked at it like this: okay, my body must have needed a rest. My body must have needed a rest. And once I get healed up, I'll just get back to where I was before. So, you know, like my daughter partially tore her MCL probably about a month ago. She was all upset. I'm like, don't get upset about it. You know, hey, that's just a minor setback for a major comeback. So you just make sure you do the right thing, you know, stay positive. Maybe your body needed a rest. I told her the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So I think that staying positive, no matter what the situation. And, you know, I can tell you another thing that really helped me. Like, I'm not really a big, like, I'm not a big religious guy and nothing like that, but I do believe in God, and I do believe that there's a higher power, and I believe that God places people in your life for a reason. But I remember one time, it was actually after I left New Jersey. I just felt like I wasn't getting a fair shake. I was ready to quit, go back to school, go into the FBI and law enforcement. I was ready to do that. And my father, I talked to my father, and I was like, I'm just done with this, man. I'm not getting a fair shake. I see these guys that I felt like I was better than getting opportunities. So one thing my father told me was, hey, look, you're 25. You don't want to look back and think that or feel like you should have did this, you should have did that. You're still young, go ahead and give it all you got, while you can, because once it's over, it's over. And he said, I'll tell you what I want you to do. He said, I want you to go read the book of Job in the Bible. I said, okay. I said, all right. He said, go read the book of Job. When you finish reading it, we'll talk about it. So I went and read the book of Job, and I called him on the phone. I was like, man, I said, yeah, that was tough. He said, you ain't got it as hard as you think you do you? And I was like, you know what? I said, you're right, because Job lost everything. But then he kept his faith in God, and God blessed him 10 times over. You know what I'm saying? So that right there, after that, man, come on. Nothing, you know what I'm saying? If Job and lost all his family, everything. You know what I'm saying? So, that's what I'm saying. Like I said, I'm not one that goes out and preach the gospel, but I do, like, if I see somebody having hard times or feeling like they're having hard times, I do tell them that same thing. My father told me, read the book of Job, and then we talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, and that's really some heavy stuff right there. You know what I mean? So that's what helps me remain positive, throughout whatever happens. Even like when my father died, I took a positive out of that. You know what I'm saying? I just thought, at least I got to enjoy him for 42 years. I got to enjoy him. You know what I mean? So, like I said, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about him and something that he's told me. And do I wish I could still talk to him? Of course. But I can't. But, I take the things that he's taught me, and I keep those things with me.
Last question, man. Any regrets? Any regrets in the league?
No regrets as far as playing. I don't have any regrets as far as like playing. I think I left it all out there. You know what I'm saying? I don't have any regrets. I don't look back and say, dang, I wish I would have did this, or I wish I would have done that. I don't look back and say that. I don't have any regrets as far as my NBA career. If I had it to do over, I'd do it again. Same things.
And you definitely played the game well and to the best of your capabilities, man. Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate you, man. I'm so glad I got to reconnect to you, man. It makes me, I got the biggest smile on my face, man, because it's been years.
Good.
Years, man. Like you said, now that you back in my life, man, I'm definitely gonna keep in touch, man.
All right.
Like yourself, I really admire you and appreciate you, and thank you for being a guest on Power Players Podcast, man. I look forward to connecting with you, man. Next time you're in Jersey, when you come to Jersey, man.
I got you. Well, thank you, Mike, for having me. And like I say, anytime, man, you got the number now. We can stay in touch. If ever you want to just shoot a text like, yo, what's up? What's going on? Hey, let's chop it up.
Definitely. You got it. This is another edition of Power Players Podcast. Thank y'all for listening. God bless.